in order. February 17th, 3 p.m. We conduct a roll call, please.
Chairman Correll?
Here.
Vice Chair Dick?
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Here.
Commissioner Pfeiffer?
Present.
Commissioner Jimenez-Torres?
Here.
Commissioner Blue?
Here.
Okay, has everyone had the opportunity to review the agenda? Okay. Seems like we're good on that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Next, moving on to the approval of minutes. Agenda item 13A with the work session, and the 13B, the regular meeting in January. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. The items are approved. Correspondence. I understand we have additional items that have come in.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we did receive one email from Tracy Marlett that lives on Commerce Street, that lives on Greystone Terrace on the other side of the railroad tracks from the PUD proposal. I have copies of that email that was received. If I were to summarize it, is generally opposed to the development on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Mr. Stewart, would you mind, do you have copies of that?
Yes,
Can
I
you
do.
distribute it to the commissioners, please? Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Moving on to citizen comments. Does anyone here wish to be heard in relation to something that's not on the agenda for today? Hearing none. Report from Frederick County Planning Commission Liaison.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. We did meet on Wednesday, February 4th. We only had one real item on the agenda. There were several different parcel additions to a couple of different agricultural and forestal districts in the county, and those were all unanimously recommended to move forward. And then we did have one additional item that was added on there, and I mentioned this because it might be of interest. There's a lot of data in there. There was an overview of real estate trends and future growth policy that was presented, and it's in its draft form, so it wasn't a public hearing, but if you want to go back and look at the meeting, there was actually really good information in there, both Frederick County and Winchester included in that data, so very interesting stuff. So that was all, Mr.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. We're going to next move on to new business public hearings. TA 25-7. An ordinance to amend and reenact sections 5, 9, 13, 18, and 19 of the Winchester zoning ordinance pertaining to platted townhomes on private streets. Mr. Stewart, Mr. Benson.
Thank you very much. So, to summarize where we are on this, we're looking to expand and the opportunities to develop with private streets, with platted residential parcels that face them, and there was some allowances in the zoning ordinance. Since our last meeting, we have continued to refine our proposal. So I just wanted to clarify that some of the language that was problematic, where we looked at the potential option for City Council to go in and fix any issues. That language was recommended to be taken by both the Public Services Director and also our City Attorney. So we've modified the amendment to no longer include such language and just clarify that maintenance shall be the responsibility of the homeowners association or condo owners association in perpetuity. And so some of the other zoning ordinance changes, we took that language out. but the HR district and the PUD districts were the only districts where you could have private streets. The proposed changes would expand that to include some of the other zoning districts, like the new NDD zoning districts, as well as B1 and HR1, which is a more dense single-family zoning district. This stems from concern about the ability to do private platted streets in like townhome developments. Some developers move forward with condo projects and have shared with staff that they wish that they were able to do them as platted parcel townhomes. So I'd be happy to answer any other additional questions that the commission may have about this item.
Do commissioners have any questions, comments?
This is a public hearing.
Right, we'll open that up next. So the chair will open the public hearing. If anyone would like to be heard, the chair recognizes them for 3 minutes. Does anyone like to be heard on this matter? Hearing none. Okay. Now, the chair closes public comment.
Yes.
Now, I will defer to the commission if you have any questions or comments to staff on this matter.
I don't think I've really talked about this all that much, but I just can't help but feel like this isn't going to help with housing affordability. I do understand that this is going to be a help for developers and maybe a help for the city, although I feel like in the long run it won't be. I think that the city should have ownership and maintenance and authority over our streets. And so I'm leaning towards not approving this, just an FYI.
Ms. Bloom.
So as it is written now, does it have the blessing of Perry Eisenach?
As it's written now, yes. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
I'm the same as Commissioner Mayfield. Not too big on this. I guess some of my concerns are the HOA or the condo association not fulfilling their end of the obligation, and then having potentially the city to have to take over it. I don't know. I understand the developer's stance on it, but maybe that needs to be built into their pricing or when they buy the lots. So I mean, I don't think this is a great idea. I think it should be the way it is now, and I don't think we should change it.
Mr. Dick.
So from my perspective, the change is that it's going from a condo to a platted lot, so that it is permitted, but it's a condo lot. And these condo lots are probably more problematic than the public streets in some ways. So because it really doesn't change the form of the development at all, it just allows for a lot to be platted and to be put for sale as opposed to be a condo, I don't have a problem with it.
Commissioner Menes-Torres.
I don't have any issues with it. Just wanted to appreciate the time put into answering all our questions, and I know we've been going kind of back and forth with this. So just thank you for the clarification that you've provided in this.
Thank you.
And welcome back for your whirlwind tour.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any follow-up?
Just one more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
This also feels like a way of, I guess, developers, maybe the city themselves, from getting away from a higher density level by doing platted land rather than condo units in an apartment building or something of the like. Anyway, that's my thinking. But that is to say, I also agree with Jimenez-Torres that the staff, as always, has done a very good and responsive research and writing. Thank you.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion on this item.
So I will move to approve the zoning text amended as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. Discussion. Okay, we'll proceed to a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
No.
Commissioner Pfeiffer?
No.
Commissioner Jimenez Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Chairman Corral?
Yes. Okay, seeing that that is approved, I guess we can move on to the next item. And Mr. Stewart, I think you have that as well. That's TA 25-8, an ordinance to amend and reenact certain sections of the City of Winchester subdivision ordinance to permit platted parcels fronting on private streets within the HR, RB1, B1, and PUD and NDD zoning districts. You have the floor.
Thank you. So this is part two of our effort here to expand the options for developers to allow more possibilities for private streets. This language here would be in the subdivision ordinance specifically, this item here, where we lay out the performance standards for private street platting. It allows for some flexibility, dimensionally speaking to the issue of affordability and perhaps the ability to add a few more lots for sale, which does help move forward with the project with a small flexibility of dimensional changes that could allow for a slightly different layout than meeting the city standard, city width. But all of those performance standards here are listed under 5-31. And the language, I'll just point to, we still have language about management of common space and private streets. We've just taken out that section referring to action by council and added that the developer shall establish a reserve fund dedicated solely for the maintenance of the common space and private streets, specifically within the development. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions specifically about the subdivision ordinance changes.
Chair opens public comment on this matter. The chair recognizes if you'd like to speak on this matter, up to 3 minutes. To the public, please state your name and where you live. Seeing none, the chair closes public comment. I'm going to push this to the commission. And what questions or comments do you have? Mr. Jimenez-Torres.
I do not have anything.
Mr. Dick.
So my request to staff would be is that if you could track amendments within your amended version, it would be very helpful because it's difficult to know what has changed. I see that private streets shall not be used by the general public as through streets, which specifically addresses something that we had talked about last time.
Yes.
So if you could have a double underline or a different color moving forward, that would really help us to, focus on the changes, but I support this. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
I do have one question on 5-31-15. It does say no private street shall be accepted into the public street system by City Council until after the street has been improved, the current city street standards, and after consultation with the Director of Public Services, etc. So that could be potentially a good bit of work that would need to be done to keep it up or put into the city standards.
Certainly.
So, with that being said, I don't see it being transferred to a public street at all. Because if you already have your curb to curb, and you need to expand it and make it wider to make it a city street, a public street, you're not going to be able to do that unless you get easements from those homeowners and all of that. So I'm just trying to understand, and it may not be to that extreme, but there could be some potentially hefty costs. And I know the developer or the HOA would be responsible for that, I would assume. But what are the chances of that happening as far as them upgrading the street to city standards? I would think it'd probably be pretty slim.
I would agree with that. Like if a developer moved forward with more or less the minimum dimensional standards as proposed for the private streets, that would exclude it essentially from becoming a public street based on the compact nature. It wouldn't meet public standards. So a developer could go with private street at a larger, standard that meets the city public street standard, that one would be potentially eligible. But you're right that if a developer went with the smallest option, that it would probably preclude it from
And it's
becoming
more cost efficient for them, obviously. But so I think there's like some sort of a false impression of saying, well, it could potentially be a public street. I mean, I'd be honest, I don't think it would ever become a public street because no one would ever want to fund that to expand the street however they need to because of the costs. So, I mean, I'm not on board with this, but we're not in that section. So,
I think part of the reason for that language is, one, to provide council with clear opportunity to say this does not work, based on the small dimensions, so it is not eligible, essentially.
As well as if the HOA isn't able to keep up their streets and then the city has to take over, then there's potential cost for the city as well, as far as making it to the standards that the city requires. So again, I mean, I have a pretty big issue with that, in particular as far as one of the text amendment changes.
I'll ask this to Commissioner Pfeiffer. Would you be in favor of it excising 5-31-15?
I don't think
if there was support on the commission for that.
I mean, I don't think removing it. I mean, I think it should be built to city standards to begin with, and then it could be transferred into the public street system. But if it's not, like, I don't see that ever happening. So, I mean, I don't know how you would word that in there, but I mean, I think that's a pretty big false impression as far as, hey, in the future it could be a city street, but it's not going to be. No HOA is going to pay for that.
I think, if I may,
yes.
Part of the intent was not to give a false, give them an out, like, okay, you can build a private street and then in the future it can become public. It's more of you can build it to substandard standards and be aware that we may not accept it if it is built to these standards, if you're not going to build it to public. So it's more of like a warning to the developer.
And the city would still retain enforcement, maintenance via site plan mechanism, zoning violations, failure to maintain site plan. So if there was an issue with maintenance going by the wayside, if you will, decades down the road, the city would have the ability through action, either directly in court or through the zoning administration process to encourage and get compliance from a property. Yeah.
Commissioner Bloom.
Just want to thank the staff for working on this. I also want to echo Commissioner Dick's comments that it would be useful if we could track changes throughout each different iteration of this. I know we had some discussion about making sure that the private streets are not used as, cut-through streets, and I do see that we have a provision in here for that change, so thank you for including that.
Absolutely. And point taken on the tracking changes. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayfield.
I don't think that there should be streets in Winchester that citizens aren't allowed to drive on. I'm also bringing up the same concerns as Commissioner Pfeiffer. If we are allowing for substandard streets in the city, why are we doing it? I can understand the reasoning that Mr. Stewart was saying, we can squeeze in some more lots and such. If that's our issue, I think we should be looking instead at higher densities. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is related to what Commissioner Pfeiffer said. Is there a set of circumstances where City Council would need to convert a street, but because it's not perfectly up to par, they couldn't?
I think need is kind of a hard word to say. I can't imagine the need for council to do it. I can imagine down the road residents asking council to investigate something like that in their community.
Let's say we have a situation where council has decided for whatever reason that they want to absorb this private street that isn't up to code or whatever. It seems to me this section would prevent them from doing that. Is that right?
I don't believe it would ultimately block council and an agent of council, like a director, for example, public services director, from accepting it as a public street. I actually ask our attorney to speak up on that issue, whether this would inhibit council if they so choose to go that route.
Ms. Nicholson, you
Yeah, if council desired to add a private street to a city street, they would have to decide, during that process to make, well, one, it can be done. So there's nothing in this zoning or subdivision ordinance that would prohibit such actions, other than the fact that this street would have to come fully into compliance with all of public street standards. So then the council would just have to determine to whom is going to bear that burden, whether those specific residents of that street would be required to, homeowners association be required to make the street up to public street standards was accepted, or if it was a more widely used street, people cut through it regardless, that they felt like, well, this really is a good cross-transitional, it would be benefit to the entire city, so, the city will bear the burden. So there's nothing in the statute, in these changes, that would prevent any of those future considerations.
Well, in reading the text, it's no private street shall be accepted into the public street system by city council until condition A, B, C, D are met. So it seems to be that it restricts the applicant just as much as council. I mean, council, I don't see how council could accept it. Maybe the phraseology, maybe not at this point, but at some point, should absorb that no applicant shall have this private street accepted into the public street system, because the way it's currently written, it's both parties. So maybe that's just something to consider for later. Any other questions or comments?
Can we just go back to number 10,
Yes,
10B, where it says private street shall not be used by the general public as through streets? And my apologies for not asking for clarification earlier on this, but how do we currently monitor that? Like, currently, any private streets, is there signage up? Like, and what's an example of one? And how do we monitor that? Because we're making a point to make sure that they're connected to a public street, but how do we monitor that it's not going to be used?
I think the idea there is that via site plan, we would not approve a plan that had a private street as a connector between two major public streets.
So as a connector, but it
Yeah,
has to have a port,
yes,
right?
yes,
but just not from one side to the other. Is what
Right.
you're saying. Okay.
It's like if there was a chain of private streets that basically form a new roadway, this would prohibit the chain of private streets happening. It wouldn't prohibit the public from using those streets. You just can't chain them together.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
The chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the text amendment as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. You conduct a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
No.
Commissioner Pfeiffer?
No.
Commissioner Jimenez-Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Chairman Corral?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Okay. Is there, the next item here is,
So, as a point of order, Mr. Chair, when a motion fails, do we need to present another motion so that we proceed forward with
the
it?
point of order is accepted, yes. An alternative motion should be entertained at this point.
But it
So-
would still fail if we had three.
Well, the motion could be to deny it.
Well, but it would still fail because three don't say.
Oh. We need another commissioner.
in reading the tea leaves, it seems to be at least some of our concern is related to that clause. Am I correct? Whether we disagree or not, we seem to be that's an issue. Is that correct?
In my opinion, the motion would be to put it back to staff to address the deficiencies that would allow a motion to be passed one way or another. So if there's something in the motion, in the text amendment that could be changed, that would allow someone who voted no to move forward, or in the alternative, if something was changed to have an affirmative vote go the other way, it's more likely changing a no vote to a yes if there was something that we could direct staff to do. Other than that, I think you have to try the no motion. You have the same result.
Right.
Point of order, Chair Correll.
Yes, madam.
I'm sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
A motion isn't required for direction to staff, but perhaps clarification on what would the commission like to, changes the commission would like to see to make it a more approvable zoning text amendment.
Thank you, counsel. I think that all we have is one vote here. We want to, as chair, I want efficiency. I want some predictability, and so to push this out another month, based on some slight language, I don't think is necessary. I'm certain staff probably would prefer to get this done today. But thank you, though. I appreciate that. Is there any potential language change that gets a vote?
No comment.
The chair would, under 5-31-15, if the language is no applicant shall have a private street accepted into public street system, I would approve that. And then the underlying motion with that text change.
Can I make a recommendation of
Yes, ma'am.
homeowners association or property owners? Because it may, at that point in accepting the private street, there may not be an applicant. It may be a group. But I guess the homeowners association would be making some kind of request.
They'd be the applicant.
Yeah.
What I want to do is not constrain city council.
Right.
And
I understand.
I think textually this does. And they should be able to deem what they need as a public street, even if it's not a perfect public street.
What if you just struck from that sentence city council? No private street shall be accepted into the public street system until after the street has been improved.
Well, then you have the same situation.
It's not up to city council per se.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I think it's just, like we're saying, the wording. I think what you're saying is you want city council to be able to have that. What if the street doesn't get improved, but city council still should be able to take it over?
Correct.
I think
That's
that's where we're having the confusion with the wording. So, let's see here.
The chair will entertain an alternative wording if that's a hang-up. Otherwise, the chair will propose it.
So it would be my suggestion, because City Council has the right to do this in any case, you can just strike the section. I don't even know that it's needed.
What's staff feel about that?
It's certainly an option.
But then it doesn't address your point, does it? That you don't want people having their streets run down with the expectation that city council is going to take it over. I mean, we want you guys want to be able to point to the code and say you guys got to bring it up to standard even to apply. Is that right?
To me, it's if I may, the word "improve" to current city street standards. That actually sounds like it's the hang-up here, because you're looking at council ultimately having the ability to waive and say this is public need. We perhaps need to take this street, if it's wherever it is, into the public system, despite a deficiency for greater good. So perhaps just modifying it to drop the part where after the street has been improved to current city street standards. And then that way that just allows council to adopt it into the public street system after consulting with Public Services, Fire Chief, Police Chief, and Director of Planning. So it does allow flexibility, if you will.
Or we could add in a sentence that says the following section shall not apply to improvements initiated by council.
Could it just say private street shall be accepted into the public street system by city council after consultation with the director of public services, the fire chief, and the police chief, and director of planning?
That's what I was getting at.
I feel
Yes,
like
ma'am.
that's
Can you restate that, please?
private streets shall be accepted into the public street system by city council after consultation with the director of public services, the fire chief, the police chief, and the director of planning.
So just the word may?
May.
Yes.
An example might be is the city wants to put a water main in. It's got nothing to do with the streets. They would prefer to have the water main in their right-of-way, and therefore that's the reason they want to take the street. It may not even be a transportation improvement. It might be a pedestrian improvement. It might be a number of things.
So the tendered language is, and I'm assuming this would be your motion, let me make sure I'm correct. Private streets may be accepted into the public street system, and the rest of it's the same. No? All right.
Take off the improved, take off that whole sentence and go, so private streets may be accepted into the public street system by city council after consultation with the director of public services, the fire chief, the police chief, and the director of planning.
Okay, the chair has a language of private streets may be accepted in the public street system by city council after consultation, and the rest of it's the same. Mm-hmm. Is that your motion? Well, actually, do you make the motion to approve with that change?
Yes, I do.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
No.
Commissioner Pfeiffer?
No.
Commissioner Hernandez-Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Chairman Farrell?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Moving on to item RZ 25-5, an ordinance to rezone 3.37 acres of land at 1328 Commerce Street, map 233-11-1 from commercial industrial district to high-density residential HR district with PUD overlay. Mr. Stewart, has there been changes since, other than the public comment, has there been changes, updates, or any kind of notifications related to the agenda item since the work session?
Yes, there has, but I would tell the commission that it was received at the end of the day on Friday, and then we had the holiday on Monday, and so we did not have a chance to disseminate it to commissioners yet. So I'll be happy to just kind of quickly run through some of the changes, and at that point, I think staff recommendation would be to table it to allow an additional month of review by Planning Commission to look at the changes that the applicant has brought forward. But if I may? Yeah, great.
That's fine.
So this is the early draft development plan. The most recent version now has 9 parking spaces. I'm going to draw on here just to kind of give you an idea. 9 parking spaces in this direction off of the private street as overflow parking for those back units. The latest version did move 1 unit. Let's just say it's the first one here, over here, and attach it to the side of unit 43 there to the left of it. And let's see. The other details, the improvements have been clarified as having a pavilion, a tot lot, which is a toddler playground, added to this recreation area here next to the overflow parking lot off of the private street. And the short driveways that don't meet code and would overhang the sidewalk and also potentially even into the private street have been removed from those 3 units. So those would be kind of a unique design, a third design, if you will, into the architectural portfolio of this development with no garages on the ground floor. They would be walk-in with just sidewalk, concrete leads to the front door for just those 3 units.
Would they have parallel parking in front of those units?
No, because this is proposed as 24 feet curb to curb at the minimum standard as part of the subdivision ordinance that we're clarifying, in the process of clarifying, right? So they're trying to design to that standard, and so what they propose here is 24 curb to curb with no parallel parking. So that's why they have 13 overflow parking spaces in a lot off of the private street, and then along the street, similar to what was proposed at Village at Valor, PUD of condo townhomes being built off of Weems, some interspersed parking spaces along the private street there between some of the units, if you will. So the units have been separated. I'm drawing on the map here. Units have been separated, creating some green space between the units, and there's several parking bays, between. So,
Mr. Stewart,
yes, sir.
Essentially, from what I'm hearing from you when you first started this discussion is that you need some additional time to digest the materials and make certain it complies with our suggestions. Okay,
Yep.
I understand that. Chair opens public hearing at this time. If you have specific items to discuss on this, the chair will recognize you in 3 minutes. In accordance with our bylaws, the chair will entertain a motion to table this public hearing to the next regular meeting.
I will just say that there is this emailed statement that was sent to us today. I mean, it's essentially a public hearing statement.
Commissioner, I understand. You could go ahead and explain what that.
Well, just want to see if there is, in the new plans, is addressing the dumpsters location. So
Sure, I
see where they're
can
located.
speak to that really quickly. Yes,
Okay.
in my communication with the homeowner there, I didn't have a chance. We ended our conversation before I got to explain some of the particulars. These would be serviced by these lots would be serviced by city trash and recycling. So there would be no dumpster for these homes. They would get city cans, city recycling bins. So there would be no dumpster as a potential issue for neighbors to deal with the cleanliness of and emptying them.
So I'll give you my quick opinion.
Do we need to
still
close the
think,
public hearing?
yeah,
Sorry, point of
not
order.
yet. I mean, the public hearing is remaining open at the moment. So while I entertain that particular motion, in order to keep it open, at this particular juncture, the chair would entertain a motion to table to the next regular meeting time. Hearing none. The chair closes up the public hearing. Now we do questions and comments. All right. Commissioner, well, let me start with Commissioner Jimenez-Torres. Do you have any questions or comments?
Well, my questions and comments were just related to the letter from Tracy.
Sure.
In regards to requesting the plans be emailed to her. Would these be the plans that are in our minutes that come out the week before? Is that what she is requesting, or what additional information would be emailing?
She was asking for a copy of the development plan, and I was able to email it.
During the meeting.
Excuse me?
What we received during the meeting?
Yes.
That what
And
was
in fact-
available online
Yes.
to everyone?
And I was able to actually send her a copy of the latest version as well.
Okay,
So.
okay. And she wants to know in here, receiving more advance notice for the next one, understanding that the minutes come out or the agenda comes out, the Friday before a meeting, like that's all been explained and understood there? Because I think that it seems like information's being withheld. That's what I think she's understanding, and I think just understanding we're also not receiving it until the Friday before a meeting.
She received the letter as code required, that the applicant mail out 10 days prior to the public hearing. So she was notified via that required process, and I do have a certificate of statement from the applicant that they were adhering to the code requirements of mailing the letters out. Mr. Madden is here as well.
So letters went out 10 days before our meeting to that whole community.
Yes, and she will have, being a homeowner within 300 feet, there will be another opportunity for a public hearing at City Council. Yep.
Commissioner Dick. I'm sorry, were you
No, that was-
finish? Commissioner Dick.
So I think there continue to be changes to this plan. I would prefer to go back to a work session as opposed to our next meeting. We're removing parking, we're changing units. I think that you could have parallel parking just in front of those units with a bump out. Walking to your unit from a parking lot isn't, you're going to have people park in front of those units. We talked about setbacks last time. You have buildings that are set back 4 feet from the property line.
Yeah, certainly.
There's a number of issues with this plan. I think they will be worked out. I don't know that I would vote for it if this just comes to us at a regular meeting. I think that there's changes that staff need to work through on this, and that would be my preference.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
I'll talk about this at the next meeting, but some of my questions. But in regards to I think what we kind of spoke about during the work session as far as the agenda and all that, as far as having applicants, their full package. I understand things get changed during the work session and between the work session and the business meeting, but I don't feel like this has been either presented 100%. I think it's at 80% or 90%, just in my opinion. I don't think the full package from the applicant is completed, and I think that definitely tabling it would do a lot for it. But I feel that maybe in the future, making sure that the applicant's package is 100%, and then there might be some minor changes here and there. But I just feel like that there's some pretty, I say major changes, some bigger changes that probably should have been done pre-planning commission meetings, in my opinion.
Mr. Wood.
I just look forward to seeing a more finalized version of this next month.
Mr. Mayfield.
I agree with Commissioner Bloom. I also just had a clarification question. So trash service will be provided on a private street?
Yes. Platted parcels on a private street, yes.
Okay.
And just, if I may, in addition to an updated development plan that we received on Friday, part of that packet did include a new green space exhibit, so that will be shared with the Planning Commission moving forward for next month's review.
I didn't hear you.
Color-coded green space exhibit has been submitted by the applicant, so that will be in the packet moving forward next month. And also, I would ask the applicant to speak about an environmental review that was also done recently regarding the site.
Was that submitted?
On Friday as well with the development plan.
Okay.
If I may, the applicant,
the chair will recognize the applicant for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Sorry I was late. I had a flat tire coming here, so. The environmental, that last time I was here, I thought I was under the impression the environmental study has been completed on this property. Unfortunately, it wasn't. We had somebody to go out there and did the environmental study. We just got the report and gave it to Mr. Stewart. And as far as the study that goes, they did a lot of research, a lot of the stuff that you may know. The site has a lot of cars and different things on there. But at the end, the conclusion was that there is nothing there that would preclude or stop developing this property into residential, basically.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Did the study include soil tests?
Yes, sir.
The chair will entertain a motion. We could accept, we could table, or we could reject. Well, what's the pleasure of the commission?
I'll motion to table RZ-25-5.
Second.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor to table this item, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Yes.
Okay. The chair recognizes item RZ 26-1, ordinance to amend the development plan associated with RZ 18-923 at 501 Treetops Lane, map 310-01-26, zone medium density residential, MR district with planned unit development. Mr. Benson, has there been any changes since the work session?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No changes to the plan itself. I did receive one phone call from a resident of the existing treetops. Overall, not expressing any opposition to the plan. Just a little sad to see the existing single-family home be removed, but under the 2019 approval, that would already be the case. We did receive an email from the applicant this morning requesting to table the item as they're working on potentially different plans for the site, just until we can meet with them and discuss what those plans might be.
Is there any reason why the commission, well, let me go ahead and open public comment. If you wish to speak to this specific agenda item, the public is recognized. Seeing no one else in the gallery, the chair closes public comment. Related to that item, what would be the effects of a denial? It seems like we have an unforeseeable whatever's going to happen next. They don't want to proceed. Would they just redo the materials? Like, how would that work?
A denial of this current application?
It seems like they want to change it. Is that correct?
Yeah, the owner is entertaining potential changes. They were going to withdraw the application, and we recommended keeping it open just in case. In our meeting with them on the changes, if they weren't going to work out, then they just want to continue moving forward with this current application.
Do they state the level of changes? Are these like major changes? Is it slight?
They would be major changes that would require an entirely new rezoning application if they go that route.
If this was denied and then they decided to move forward with this one, they would not be able to do so for a year's time. So it's always recommended that instead of withdrawing or taking action on it, let's just pause, let the developer reflect, and then come forward to the city with how they would like to proceed.
Thank you for that.
Council, I believe there is a time limit on tabling, and
12 months.
12 months. So we would generally table it, and it would not appear in any agenda until they change their plans up to 12 months, and then actually, if we take no action in 12 months, it's automatically approved.
Correct. And that's why the city has a tickle system to ensure that it doesn't go with an automatic approval process. And because if they don't come forward, staff will contact and ensure that do they want to withdraw this at that time or move forward with it. And if they make no indication either way, then it would be brought for the Planning Commission to probably deny it at that point for inaction from the developer.
Commissioner Mayfield, do you have anything on topic here you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate council's insights on the timing. I'm ready to table it.
Commissioner Bloom?
Sam?
Mr. Pfeiffer?
Did the applicant give a time frame of how long they were looking for us to table the agenda item?
We're already working with them to set up a meeting for next week to discuss the changes. So we will hopefully have an answer by the next Planning Commission meeting next month.
I mean, my thought would be, obviously not 12 months, but, I would do maybe 60 days would be my thought, or 45 days, because that would get us to a work session of whatever that would be, April? Because I think in 30 days, if it's some pretty big changes, if they go that route, I don't think that's enough time for review for everybody. So I think 45 or 60 days would be plenty.
Do we have the authority to
Hold
put that time frame?
on a second, Commissioner. Council, the question on that is, if there's material changes that it's just like it's totally different than what they apply, do they still get to tag on to the previous application?
No, it would have to be re-advertised in a new public hearing.
Right.
It'd be a whole new application in essence.
Yeah.
Well,
So
how could they proceed?
If the applicant wished to go in an all-new route with a different product versus what they proposed so far, yes, that would be a new application. The idea to table it would be to, and not recommend denial, would be just to make sure that they aren't blocked from moving this plan forward if they ultimately decide to keep moving forward with this plan. So it just allows them a little extra time to make sure that this is the plan they want to go with. If they want to go with an alternate plan, completely different format, we would require a new application. You wouldn't see it for at least 2 months or so because of the deadlines and so forth. It would not be modified. Yeah, it would not be modified to this application.
Mr. Dick?
Under state code, is the city under any timeline obligations as they relate to the review and approval of development plans? Like, do they have 60 days from submission to review and approve a development plan?
No, it's just the same within a reasonable amount of time, which the courts have determined to be the 12-month period.
So it's just for site plans that there's a specific... Okay, thank you. I'm good with the table.
Commissioner Minister.
So just tagging on to Commissioner Piper, so is there a time frame that we can put as a commission? I mean, it's code is saying 12 months, but can we say we want something updated within 60 days? It sounds like we're asking to table because we still need additional information because we're not clear on what the route is. So not necessarily because we know for sure that the plan is completely changed, but just trying to buy some time to figure this out, to have some more information for us. But can we put a constraint on time, even though there's a 12-month?
Sure, because you're just bringing it back to see where they are, and at that time you can give them another 60 days if they say, okay, we're going to go this route, or you'll have better information. I think 30 days might be too short of a time period to have any robust activity during that time, but 60 days or 90 days may be more appropriate. But yes, you can, to keep it in front of the commission.
And if the applicant chooses ultimately to withdraw the plan, then it would not move forward at that time period. As part of that motion, it would be dead due to the applicant's desires to pull it.
But if it's not a denial, they can, if they withdraw it, they can resubmit it. Is that correct?
If it's just withdrawn and then resubmitted?
Yeah, they can resubmit.
I believe so, yeah.
Do you have from the applicant in writing that they are asking us to table?
Yes, I received an email from them.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move to table RZ-26-1 for 60 days.
A second.
Discussion. So to the next, I guess,
It'd be the April.
be the regular meeting.
Yes. It would be our work session in April as well.
All those in favor of tabling?
Discuss for once.
Yeah, discussion, please.
Sure.
Any discussion on
I
this?
have no discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we know if the applicant wants to bring it up sooner than 2 months? Do they only want 1 month if you're...
That's what we're saying, is that the applicant is going to make that determination after meeting with staff in the near future, whether they want to pursue the alternate route. So if they pursue the alternate route, we've made clear to them that is a brand new application that would restart. It would not move forward under this one, and that would be them withdrawing this application. So the applicant plans to make up their mind as best as we know in a pretty short time frame. But this action would allow this version to move forward if that's what they choose in the next 60 days.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
asking if our time frame for how long the table is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments on the pending motion to table?
So, from my perspective, I don't know that the time frame is even required, because if we review it, it's going to be the same information that we had in our work session. If they change it, the application is going to be withdrawn and given to us anew. Be my suggestion that we just table it until the next meeting, and if they want us to hear it, it's going to be the same information, and if it's new information, then it's going to be withdrawn. So I don't see the need for 60 days as opposed to just the next meeting.
The pending motion is to table for 60 days.
So the friendly amendment would be to take off the 60 days.
I don't know how friendly that would be, but do you accept it, or do you want to vote on the 60-day table?
I want to hold with my motion.
Okay. The amendment is not accepted. All those in favor of tabling for 60 days, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes carried. Matters tabled for 60 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of just clarification, were the public comments closed?
They were closed. Chair takes up CUP 26-1, a conditional use permit request by Cheryl Anderson for the installation of a fence not subject to administrative approval in the corner side yard, Bolden Drive side at 96 Bolden Drive, map number 195-02-C-33 zone MR medium density residential district. My sole question to you, Mr. Kearns, is has there been any modification, changes, or any updates since the work session?
No, there is not.
Does the applicant have additional information that they did not share in the work session?
No.
Okay. The item is now open for public discussion. Chair recognizes anyone that would like to speak to this matter. Hearing none, the chair closes the public comment. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or are you ready to vote? The chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve conditional use permit request CUP 26-1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Take a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Piper?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez-Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Chairman Corral?
Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New business. Is there any additional new business that we need to know about?
No new business, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Old business. Bylaws and policies. Presenter David Stewart. Mr. Stewart.
Let me take over, if I may.
Sure,
Carry on as we
absolutely. I'm just
started,
following
so
the
we'll
plan.
continue. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm obviously here this evening, this afternoon, we have the Planning Commission bylaws and policies for continued discussion and potential action. Previously, 2601, policy dealing with agenda item placement was introduced, and 2602, remote meeting participation was introduced. Very straightforward and good additions, if you will, to the policies and the procedures, bylaws, if you will, of the Planning Commission. Also provided the last meeting by Chairman Correll were some proposed modifications to the Planning Commission bylaws. There was some discussion that we held at the last Planning Commission work session. Mr. Dick in particular provided some additional guidance and some written comments dealing specifically with Policy 1 and Policy 2, not necessarily the rest of the bylaws. All of that information is provided in your agenda package, of course. So the Planning Commission bylaws are the Planning Commission's bylaws. It's how you want to do business, and you have the ability to modify and change them as you desire. From the staff's perspective, there are items in there that we want to be sure that the Planning Commission understands, if you will, is comfortable with, as you choose to modify your bylaws. There are some general good planning practices that you should consider when you're doing that, and there are also some legal considerations that Ms. Michelson will be able to add to if you have any questions about those. I think the bylaw changes were well presented and very, very clear. From a staff perspective, we kind of recognize that you're, as a commission, comfortable with the membership, the process for removal from office, and works very closely with City Council. City Council boards and commissions. Ultimately, City Council has the ability to remove planning commissioners for a variety of reasons. So I want you to be considerate of that. There's also a different approach proposed, which is removal of the work session. So understanding that, generally speaking, the format of how the Planning Commission wants to operate is a little bit different. Clarity for procedures for conducting business and voting. Keeping it simple was, I think, a premise of the previous bylaws. There's reference now to Robert's Rules of Orders, and the question is, does that maintain that clarity and simplicity and assist the Planning Commission in doing that? Ex parte communications, I think there's some thought that needs to go into that. Annual retreat is the final thing I'll point up, being a very desired thing, something that we would support. There's been identified as that being on a weekend, but I would recognize that during that window that has been proposed, that a standing Tuesday work session might be the best approach for that as kind of an aim goal. But I wanted to make sure I brought those general questions up to ensure that the Planning Commission, if you want to change your bylaws, you're kind of recognizing those items.
Chair recognizes staff counsel if you have any additional comments beyond the work session.
I just would reiterate the comments that I made at the work session. I don't see that the revisions encompass all of my concerns, which, again, as Mr. Riddick pointed out, these are the Planning Commission's bylaws, and the Planning Commission can choose what language it would like to have it govern itself. But the concerns with good planning practice is if the bylaws sort of have some tension with how city and city staff currently conduct Planning Commission meetings, and especially particularly work sessions, adding some provisions in the work session section that are kind of vague and don't really speak to how the work sessions are going to be changed could create, some confusion. I do share staff's concerns with the ex parte communications. While it sounds good in writing, in theory, and in practice, it doesn't ever translate into that, because when individual, and it's not just Planning Commission, it's any individual governing body member discusses a particular project with, the applicant, developer, whoever, it always creates or can create, optic problems, political problems. they think you're saying one thing, they will hear what they want to hear. It just it's a recipe for disaster, quite frankly, to have ex parte communications. And not that you can't talk with an applicant or whatever, but to have, sort of a kind of a sanctioned policy on this. Like I said, it sounds great. It just never really in the real world happens quite this way. So, for best practice purposes, ex parte communications would be considered, it just shouldn't be done. You should have either another planning commission so everybody's understanding there can't be a he said, she said situation, or there, like I said, there should be better parameters surrounding it if you're going to have these. But again, like I said, these are my or staff's, recommendations for, best practice, and it's really up to the commission on how it wants its bylaws to be stated. It just governs the planning commission and does not govern, city staff.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions for staff?
In regards to the work sessions, and the county, since the county is here, is that correct? You all don't have work sessions?
Correct.
And how does that work out for you all? Granted, you all have a lot more.
Fine.
Okay.
I mean, it seems to work fine. Hold on, that's not entirely true. So, actually, that's completely false. We have a work session tomorrow. So if there's a particularly large project, something that has a lot of moving components, or something we haven't seen in a long time, then staff will call a work session, but just a couple times a year, and we'll have it about an hour before. So we have one tomorrow at, I think, 5:30, and it wraps up just before the regular meeting. But they're not scheduled on a monthly, regular basis. We get the information a couple, week and a half out or so from the meeting, and then we have time to review. We can, if we have any individual questions with staff, we can ask them, leading up. But it seems to work okay. It doesn't seem to delay anything, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. I think that extra time frame helps. I think getting the packet, granted it's the work session, so the Friday before the work session, and we have whatever it is, 4 days to review it. I think a week and a half would be better. I think that would eliminate, help get rid of the work session, or just make a work session a business meeting, and have 2 business meetings like the county does, because I think when I attend those meetings, they're very well run, and it seems like they have everything together, all their information, their site plans, anything that comes before them, everything is already kind of good and together. And I would, in regards to work sessions, I would like to get rid of them, just because I think it is an additional item that we don't necessarily need to have. And like the county said, if they do need to have a work session, then they can call it. I think that would probably be the way to go. I think if their ours is working well as well, but I think the county it seems like a bit more efficient, and I think getting the information, the packets to us a week and a half earlier or a week earlier would give more time to review and ask any questions to staff as needed.
The chair will discuss some of these items because I think it bears some relevance to why we're doing the things we're doing. I think as a governmental body, no matter what seat we're in, if we're staff or we're volunteers as we are in this position, we want to streamline the public's access to the sort of remedies that they need from local government. So to see a person that is trying to convert their first floor or put a fence up, to ask them to come in multiple times during work hours is an impediment to their access and to remedies in our system. As flawed as government can be, I think we owe ourselves and the public some degree of duty to make it as efficient as we can, where we can. And so it's also about transparency. We want to do things above board. This particular provision of making certain that if a commissioner does speak to somebody in an ex parte manner, if they're provided materials, that they must provide those to the commission, simply mirrors Frederick County's bylaws. It wasn't created in a vacuum. And where we found the ability to borrow from where there is something to borrow from, I think we want to provide both a streamlined process and transparency. I want to discuss very briefly these while we discuss work sessions. It's not the goal to throw out all work sessions. And the goal of the bylaws is to create the governing document with the policies filling in the place, right? And that to be an evolving process. But I will speak to council's comment regarding removal. One of the things that I think is important is to not color between the lines, and we try not to. That's why we're trying to mirror the state code that removal may occur for malfeasance, and that's under 15.2-2212. So it's those two values that I think we want to uphold while making government as accessible as possible and a good use of everybody's time. So I will recognize additional questions and comments. Yes.
So removing or the guidance in regards to the work session, are we saying that as a commission, instead of that work session, we would like that to be a business meeting? And is it that we want maybe some flexibility in there to determine if during this month we want 2 business meetings or 1 based on how busy we are? Is that more what we're looking at? Like if there are a lot of topics that need to be brought up, then we need to have 2 business meetings this month. If there aren't a lot, then we have 1. And then what's the threshold for that? Like how do we determine if we have more than 3, then we have to, and I think that's what Ms. Michelson is referring to, is that what is that threshold? Like what I think right now as it's worded, it doesn't really how do we determine we're too busy this month or we're not too busy this month, whether we have 1 or not? But I think what we're trying to get at is that, yes, we don't want people to come and waste their time. While I think work sessions have been very informative because they give us an opportunity to ask questions and they give us an opportunity to clarify things for the community in that work session and get some of those questions answered, I also understand where we're coming from in regards to we want people to be able to come and get their answers and their situations resolved without having to come a second time and have to do that. But that requires us having all the information and everything at that, Commissioner Pfeiffer's mentioning, getting it maybe a week before that. So there's a lot of pieces, parts of this to make this work, but I think it's more so clarifying we're going from a work session to a business meeting. Is that what we're doing? And are we making that it's an optional one based on how busy we are and who's going to determine how busy we are?
I think one way to address it is, at least a great example is today. So we had a situation where either we didn't have enough information or the applicant wanted a table and didn't think we had enough information, even though we may have had enough information. And we always have those opportunities to the table to push it to a new session. And I think the Frederick County's volume is partially due to the size of the county. They have so much stuff going on. And so if that ever happens, and we reach our capacity, I'm certain we could be malleable and open up those other opportunities for applicants.
I know Frederick County cancels a meeting if they need to. Is our wording that we put in here mirroring that, or did we look at that piece? And I'm sorry that I didn't compare those two to see, but when they do cancel a meeting, I know that they do, I'm just wondering what that verbiage is.
Well, I think proactiveness is the primary element that we're going for, and that is that as chair, I will be meeting with staff and determining, is this a large item with plenty of enough time to place it on a work session. So I think there's just good communication solves that. Mr. Ruddy?
I would agree for those larger work session items. For the work that the Planning Commission has, we do not have the volume that Frederick County does, so I think it would be quite redundant to have 2 business meetings a month. Should that change in the future, then I think the Planning Commission would be adept enough to change in the future. But as it stands presently, 1 business meeting a month may well be appropriate. That also helps from just the fiscal impact from a staff perspective in legal advertisements, which are very significant for any meeting, any public hearing requirements. So to have a simple approach that is consistent would be more helpful to good planning practices.
And I think you raise a good point that perhaps I didn't fully consider. You know, these work sessions wipes out the entire planning department. You guys are down here. You know,
that is perfectly fine.
Right. I'm sure.
So for the work sessions, the term of art that I would use is when an application proposes an increase in the intensity of use. Right? The fence application note increase in intensity of use. The conditional use permit, or sorry, that was the fence. Both the rezonings, they are an increase in the density or the intensity of use, and it should be discussed. The conversion of ground floor office to residential is a decrease in the intensity. The change of a gas station to an office building is a decrease. The change of an office building to a gas station is an increase. So that would be the threshold, and it is a little bit of a term of art, but those are the ones that I would want to see in a work session, and where public might be more interested, where there's an increase in the intensity of use.
Mr. Mayfield. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying generally good practice, good approach. I will say that we had a revocation of a CUP, which was a reduction in the intensity by 1 comment, and that took us several meetings to get through. So they are so unique, but good guidance in particular for the fences and for the ground floor conversion, things like that really make sense. The rezonings, increase in the intensity, definitely work session.
Commissioner Mayfield, you had a comment.
Yes, it's seeming to me that maybe we need a definition section to the point that our council was saying that the complexity of the bylaws has increased. And it seems like putting in definitions for malfeasance and ex-party communications and business meeting and work session would benefit this document.
Well, I think also if we want to flesh out definitions, maybe a policy would do that.
Okay, I don't know. But it does seem like what we're circling around is what we're all trying to say. What it means.
Counsel, on that comment on malfeasance, it wasn't defined in that code section.
No.
Is it?
Well, that's what my recommendation was at the work session, was to perhaps have, the 2 reasons, malfeasance and then number of absences.
Attendance.
And then maybe under malfeasance you could give examples of, failure to commit your complete training, conflict of interest violations, and some other ones. It gives people an idea of what malfeasance means, of neglect of duty, things of that nature, because those, in my mind, fall under malfeasance. Those aren't independent variables for removal. So, whether you want to call it a definition or we just provide better structure of when is a work session triggered? I mean, that was my biggest concern, is to have the staff know what's complex or when a work session is desired. And, communication is good, but if we have something specific that everybody, knows on paper and the applicants know too, that if I have, A, B, and C or what have you, I'm going to be going through a work session. If mine it doesn't, I'm just going to be going straight to. So, and if we want to have transparency, I just think we need a little bit better procedural so staff knows, the commissioners know, and more importantly, the applicants know what to expect.
Let me address that particularly. I mean, I think it's very explicit as far as the terms, right? From the code, that code section's very clear that the commissioners can be removed for malfeasance and attendance issues at regular meetings. It's directly from the code. So I don't think, as a planning commission, we should be defining our own malfeasance when it's governed by both state code or case law or local ordinance, perhaps. So I would suggest to the commissioner that probably the best way to do that, if we want to flesh out the definitions, if we think that I think that the bylaws are not overly complex, but to prevent that, we would just do a policy that defines it.
I think that my point is that this document is as accessible as possible. And when you're referring to state code, I don't want to unnecessarily duplicate language from state code because I know that there can be errors that happen. But our citizens are reading this. Our applicants are reading this. Our future planning commissioners, our current planning commissioners are reading this, and not all of them understand what these definitions mean, what these words mean. They're common language to the chair and to council because of their positions professionally, but they're not to me.
Thank you. Yes.
May I just add to that? I think what would be helpful is that for malfeasance, we do not have a definition, but we do for the others. So like for conflict of interest, it explains, there's a sentence, a blurb after that kind of explains what that means. For mandatory attendance, there's a blurb that kind of explains that. And for training requirements, there is also a blurb that explains that. So maybe just in 2-A, it simply just says malfeasance members may be removed for malfeasance, but it doesn't give what that is. And maybe that's, I know what you're saying, but maybe some sort of explanation of what that actually is so that members of the community that are reading this understand the document. If we don't want to go with a definition route, we are actually doing a definition, we are doing definitions in B, C, and D in this. So I think that's what I would add.
I wouldn't touch the definition of malfeasance with a 10-foot pole. I think it is what it is. It's, that's chasing a rabbit, right? That discussion's never going to end. In the comments that I sent to staff, I have 3 bullet points. The first 2 are taken directly from state code, word for word. The last one that I had is just with the attendance that it applied to meetings where quorum was required, just to help with that. Then we matching state codes. We say which meetings attendance applies to, and we leave it at that.
Okay. The chair would propose the following so we can start moving the ball down the line. And that is, it seems like there's no disagreement related to the policies. So, meaning, there we are. WINC PC-policy 26-01 and WINC PC-policy 26-02. The chair will entertain a motion to approve those policies.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carried. Next, I think we want to move the ball forward. I think probably the best way to do this is to move that the current proposed bylaws be moved and seconded, and then we move a discussion period, in which case we could amend if necessary. Any questions about that? Is that reasonable? Is there a motion to approve the bylaws, specifically as presented? Final PC bylaws adopted 11-20-18, Chairman edit. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. The motion is on the floor. Discussion.
So I'm not 100% clear on what we are.
So presently is this before the commission is the red line version of the 2018 bylaws.
So page 128 to 140.
Yes. And so I think there's been some very helpful commentary here. I do like starting off with Commissioner Dick's comments that quorum shall only be required where attendance is required. Is that, to paraphrase what you?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to add that to the mandatory attendance section? That would be page 130.
Does it not already state it? Oh, that a quorum is required. Adding that?
Correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, this one is, so my understanding, Council, is that the quorum requirements for the state code do not relate, they don't bifurcate business and work sessions.
No. If you don't have a quorum, you don't have a meeting, and a work session is a meeting. You guys can all still sit around and chat, but there's no action that can be taken, and it really is.
Session doesn't have any actions.
I'm sorry?
A work session doesn't have any actions.
It can. There's no prohibition, and I mean, barring whatever you guys decide. A work session is no different than a meeting under Virginia law. They're the same thing and have the same requirements. If you want to have...
But don't our bylaws right now say a quorum's not required for a work session?
I'm sorry?
Don't our bylaws say right now that a quorum is not required for a work session?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The commissioners prior to this board decided that we're going to take a new definition of work sessions and create them as not a quorum is not needed. So therefore, there can never be any action taken at a work session. But that
That's
doesn't.
correct.
That's not.
But that's our bylaws.
Yeah.
Currently.
What about, but state code doesn't, there's no defining a regular meeting, and we could define a regular meeting to be a business meeting, couldn't we? Certainly.
The regular meeting is defined in Virginia code under FOIA. And
Under FOIA, that's three or more commissioners together talking business, right?
Yeah, which could be called anything,
Okay.
including a work session. I mean, the Virginia code specifically states that a meeting includes a work session.
Okay. Mr. Dick, you had some other suggestions I thought were helpful.
I would, sorry, my pages are getting mixed up here.
Yeah.
I would just adopt what the state code says with the added provision that attendance only applies to meetings where quorum is required. And that's in my comments.
Okay. So quorum shall only apply,
Then who would come to a work session?
I'll say, Commissioner, let me make sure I have the language correct. Quorum shall only apply where attendance is mandatory. Okay? And adding that to page 130, page 130 under the mandatory attendance statutory. Is that your motion? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. And so we...
Don't I just approve?
No, we have an underlying motion to approve the bylaws, and this is an amendment to the motion. So
It's an amendment to the motion, not a new motion.
Don't I
yes.
just,
An amendment to
don't
the
I
motion.
accept the amendment because I made the motion?
No. So the only issue is this going to be added to the underlying motion? So the underlying bylaws.
Right.
Okay, so we have a second. Is there a discussion as to the amendment?
Who would come to the work sessions if a quorum isn't required?
The reason why I added that in there is because you're being removed from the Planning Commission for missing a work session, where maybe the only thing that you discussed was a conditional use permit for a fence. I think that you need to be here at the regular meetings, but because it applies for removal from the Planning Commission, that's why I added it.
Okay.
And, I think everyone's still going to attend the work sessions whenever they can, but it's the removal aspect.
If we're going to get rid of work
Hold on a
sessions.
second. Commissioner, you recognize. Go ahead.
Yes, I recognize those. I think getting rid of the work sessions will solve that because we won't need to attend work sessions every month. It'll be 3 or 4 or 5 a year.
I mean, I think addressing this, I think if we're having work sessions, it's going to be serious. You know, it's not, you know, there's lots of things that are going on. It requires us to be centered and be briefed beforehand, not just take action. Yes.
Then it seems that attendance should be required.
Well, then, yeah, I mean,
if you can't come to 4 planning commission meetings a year, why are you on the planning commission? I understand business travel to a point, but that's a big number.
Thankfully, there's already an out. Because
Right.
we've approved a policy so someone can, if someone keeps racking up that many.
Right. That's a red flag.
Yeah, so I think this is, it's all reasonable, and I think it's like, it makes it very clear attendance needs to be required. But then we also have the out, so we have remote attendance. So if someone can't do remote attendance and all this, then there's much major problems going on.
Per council's direction, when we had the meeting with city council, that was a meeting. And I was not there because I had a work requirement. And therefore, that would have been another meeting that I missed. Right? That's my concern, that you have these auxiliary meetings and you have other stuff going on where Planning Commission may choose to get together, and that's a good thing. But it makes attendance difficult.
The current item on the floor is the addition on page 130, page 130 to 46 is quorum shall only apply where attendance is mandatory. The chair calls a vote on the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes carried. The amendment is added. Is there an additional amendment?
Can you clarify exactly the section? From a staff's perspective, it would be quite helpful, as we're having a wonderful discussion here, to take that discussion and make sure it's correctly recorded in the section. And I think we're going to have several of these discussions. So it would be quite helpful if we took those discussion items and those things you might have already decided upon and clean this up a little bit as far as the final document, so we can be very, very comfortable in what the commission is changing.
I think the formatting and where the paragraph goes we can knock that out. I mean, that's easily. I think what we just added was after the 12-month period line. That I was referring to the paragraph in general, but page 130, meetings within any 12-month period, quorum shall only apply where attendance is mandatory. Are there any other proposed amendments? Mr. Dick,
I would move striking the training requirements as a reason to remove someone from the planning commission.
That may be...
It's malfeasance, or, if you want to call it that, but it's not in state code. We're trying to define something that perhaps goes beyond the authority granted to us by state code. And I would strike
what page are you on?
Page 130, blue C.
I think
2-4, section C. Blue C.
Okay, on 130, training requirements. The previous language the chair noticed was, it says every possible effort to attend. I did soften it quite a bit, and I said make reasonable efforts, so at least one. What's the commission's pleasure on removing training requirements?
I think the training requirements are important, to the point that I was just recommissioned, or whatever the phrase would be, and I'm interested in pursuing training requirements this year. It's professional continuing education.
Mr. Wood.
I'm all right with training requirements.
I will note to the gentleman that it is quite softened from the previous language. It was very, very harsh, and it could be a term of removal. This one says you got to make some effort, and I would also. It says there's not that only one, so it says or related organizations. So I assume there'd be another organization that doesn't require the hefty training as is normally done. Mr. Stewart, is that true? There's other planning organizations?
Well, there's other opportunities besides those sponsored by Virginia APA, but those are the main ones I would point to.
Yeah, and I would recognize also that there's a quality and accreditation, with those programs. There's gravity that goes with doing that, and that provides a really good foundation for the Planning Commission as a Planning Commission action. But there are, I think, a couple of planning commissioners here who've taken the opportunity to go to state planning conference and engage with some learning experiences there, which have been very beneficial. So there are a variety, but typically they go through the same organization.
Commissioners, well, actually, I'll ask you, Mr. Vice
I'm
Chairman.
not arguing the importance of it. It just should not be a reason for removal.
Point of order.
Yes.
We talked about whether we should put in definitions or not, and I just wanted to distinguish between malfeasance and nonfeasance.
Well,
the training is a nonfeasance. It's not a malfeasance. So that's why I think it's adding to the Virginia Code requirements that may or may not, I don't believe, are authorized by the Planning Commission Board or the City Council to remove someone for nonfeasance.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because it's not doing something bad, it's just choosing not to do something.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I agree with that as well. Once again, we don't want to define malfeasance, but we're putting things in here that we're trying to put under malfeasance. So I get what you're saying. We don't want to touch that, but at the same time, we're putting things in here that are touching that at some point. I think training requirements could be somewhere under just an expectation as a member, under policy, but not necessarily a reason for removal. I think not having a time frame on it is good too. It says after being appointed as a planning commissioner, so there's a time period there. It's undefined. While that may not be a good thing, it is a good thing as well. I don't feel like that should fall under being removed, but I do think it should be in there somewhere as a policy.
Yeah, the chair weighs in only on the following. It says, failure of a member to make reasonable efforts to attend at least one training session after being appointed by Virginia Planning Association or related organizations. When we do the people's work, we got to know what we're doing, why we're doing it. And it's also not just for you, Commissioner Dick, who comes in here with so much experience, it's for the other citizen members that choose to volunteer their time. And it's not mandated. But if someone can't make some effort to be educated, to attend some kind of planning session, is this the right?
I withdraw my amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Is there an additional amendment to the bylaws? Hearing none. Go ahead, Mr. Dick, please.
So, there was, under 6.4.
What page is that?
Can we back up to, excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Commissioner Dick, you had an amendment to 2-5.
What page is it? That's what I'm asking.
2-5 in our bylaws.
Oh,
on page 144 of Commissioner Dick's recommendations.
I think that can fall underneath the policy. I don't know that we need to get it into the bylaws. I just thought that, Commissioner Pfeiffer received an email or a letter out of the blue saying that he was being considered for removal from the Planning Commission for attendance. And he wasn't notified. He didn't know that was going to happen or anything like that. He couldn't say, my grandfather passed away. Something like that happened. The intention of that is just give us a heads up, right? Don't, make it a little bit more personal. But for me, that was more of a policy than maybe something that needs to be in our bylaws.
And I think the notification element that we're adding makes it very clear that we know what's happening, before it happens. There's a notification section related to if someone's going to get removed. So that's a good point. Commissioner Dick, do you have any other suggested modifications?
I have a couple.
Yes, Commissioner Mayfield.
Going in order, under Article 3, Officers and Appointments, Duties of the Chairperson, there's added under 3-3, Section B, and subcommittees. Are the subcommittees defined anywhere or otherwise
It would be under Robert's Rules of Order. Okay. So, for example, the chair can appoint an ad hoc committee.
Right. Okay.
Let's say we wanted to study a particular item, take initiative on something like, a Dark Skies Initiative or something, for example. The chair would say these people are appointed, and then they would go off and
quite simple.
Good work.
Very good.
Mr. Mayfield, do you have any other items?
I did. I think we have some work to do on the work session part. I'm skipping that. I would prefer to remove the Pledge of Allegiance under public hearings. It's Section C under Article 5.
I would agree with that as well, actually. I'm glad we don't do any pageantry or rituals before we just dive into business.
Seems, unnecessary.
Do you have a motion?
I have a motion to remove the Pledge of Allegiance from Article 5-1, item C.
I second.
Thank you.
There is a motion to remove the Pledge of Allegiance from the agenda. There is a second discussion.
I second what Commissioner Bloom said, just jumping into business.
Thank you. Okay, the chair calls for a vote to remove the Pledge of Allegiance from the agenda. We'll take a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Dick,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Piper,
No.
Commissioner Jimenez-Torres,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom,
Yes.
Chairman Corral.
No. The ayes carry. The Pledge of Allegiance is removed from the agenda. Next item.
I had one more question.
Yes, please.
That has to do under
Question
Article...
or amendment?
More of a question. I think this is for staff, actually. Under Article 6, Section 6.4, 6-4, business items shall be presented in the following manner. And we're kind of bouncing around where presentation by the applicant is coming in. Just thinking of the many years that I've been on the commission, there's not really ever a presentation by the applicant, or it's very rare. We have the staff report, we have the public hearing, we have discussion amongst the planning commissioners, we have question and answer with the applicant, but we don't usually have presentation by the applicant. And I don't know if that was an addition or where we are with that. I'm just asking what it is and where it would fall. Would it fall at the same time as the presentation of the staff report, or is it after the public hearing and it's more less a presentation and more of a Q&A with the public?
The crafter, Mr. Chairman, so he should probably answer that one.
Yeah, I think what we want to do is we want to allow the public to hear from the applicant before they make their public comment. So if we have that in the agenda, the public is reacting to the most prescient, up-to-date information from the applicant.
Okay.
So, I mean, the way I wish to proceed is normally the staff gives their normal presentation, and we just really want the applicant to fill in the blanks.
Right.
What's the additional information we missed? And by having that there before the public comment, the public has all the facts in order to comment intelligently.
Very good. I don't have a revision.
Perhaps,
Yes, sir.
rather than putting an expectancy on them that they have a presentation that they have to do, recognition of the applicant, is that sufficient?
Presentation does sound like additional boards, a written letter.
Yes. It's yeah.
The chair would entertain a motion to add the term, in parentheses, optional, after presentation by the applicant. Because there could be situations where they're actually opposed to staff. So that
I don't know if I've seen that. I
well, I guess
feel like by the time we're getting here, everybody's in
They
agreement.
may not agree to staff's characterization. And so it at least allows them the opportunity so I can say, do you have anything else to add? Because right now there's no availability for that.
It was in there before, but it was during the public hearing, which didn't make any sense at all that you had a presentation of the applicant.
You
during
had
the
notes
public
about back and forth. We don't want that.
I think putting presentation in there, then you have to look at stipulations of how much time are you giving them. We're asking staff to give us a summary. They've collected all the information and they're presenting that to us. When we're saying we have presentation of staff report, now we're giving presentation by the applicant. So that could be a redundance of what has just been said from them all over again. So I like more of a Q&A or an opportunity. I like the optional, but at the same time, if I see presentation on there, I'm expecting a whole nother PowerPoint and we could be here for hours and hours, which is fine if that's what we need to be. But I don't know that an actual total different presentation is needed, but I do recognize that acknowledging the applicant, them being present, and then sharing information is important.
The chair will entertain a friendly amendment to change that to comments by the applicant, and in parentheses, optional.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Mayfield, second by Commissioner Pfeiffer. Discussion. All those in favor of adding that, say aye.
Aye.
It carries. Any additional amendments?
So after the public hearing closes, I believe that the applicant should have the opportunity to respond before questions by the Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an addition. So on page 136, chair closes public hearing. Then it would be response by the applicant. Then it would be questions by the commission.
So what changed there?
You add response by the applicant. You allow them to have a response after the public hearing is closed.
Wouldn't the applicant have, at that point when public comment closes, conceivably, we have everything we need, and we can then ask questions. So instead of saying who we're going to ask questions to and limiting it, we have the section after the chair closes the public hearing, questions by the commission, discussion by the commission. That means what we need to know is there unresolved questions from the applicant, and then we ask them.
What's always important for me in these meetings is to remember that this is not our application. This is the applicant's application. They are putting this forward. And if they feel the need to rebut or provide additional detail after the public hearing, I think that recognizes that they own that application. It's theirs. So for me, for someone who is often in front of planning commissions, that rebuttal is often very, very important. And I think we allow that in practice right now in any case. That's just kind of formally adding it to the...
That's the practice, and what some commissions actually do is after the public hearing and after the comment from maybe the applicant, they allow the professional staff the ability to get back up and answer any questions at that point too.
Right.
So not that it's changing the record or anything, but it's actually putting it back into recognizing the scope or the relevance or the appropriateness of those. Not that the Planning Commission can't do that, but in many cases there's a staff section there too to qualify the comments or to add anything else. It's been observed in many occasions where you do get an applicant that comes on up and they provide a lot of rebuttal, a lot of information, and some of it may not be correct. So there's also...
For me, that's a discussion by the commission. You are, in my head, an extension of the commission, so that discussion would be your voice. So absolutely, you have a voice after that.
You have a motion.
So my motion is to add applicant response after the closing of the public hearing.
Would you want to add optional?
I don't see a need for option because you just said, do you have any response? And they may say no, and then you move on. Right.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of adding that provision say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Ayes carried. Any other amendments?
So my last one was 65C, which I found to just be somewhat discretionary, but I'm not going to fall on my sword about that one.
Yeah. this is currently in the bylaws.
Correct.
And I think if we think an item is in the discretion of the chair requiring public discussion, even though it's not mandatory under the code, I think it memorializes the prerogative of the chair to decide, well, this is a matter of public concern for whatever reason. And it just memorializes in the rules. If you remove it seems to be that then there would be no enabling to call on them or open it up to the public.
At what point does it become an advertised public hearing?
Do you have a motion?
My motion is to strike 6.5C from the bylaws.
Is there a second?
Second?
There's a second to strike. The commission may elect to take public comments on any agenda item, including those that don't require a public hearing and those of which a public hearing has already been held. Discussion.
So the only discussion I'll have is just to note that there is a spot for the public to speak at the beginning of every one of our meetings. So, we have that opportunity for the public to come and to provide their comment.
The only issue I would bring to your attention is if there's an item on the agenda that doesn't require public comment, it's not statutory in nature, then if it brought a lot of public concern, the issue would be, could they even speak to it? Because as you know, the admonition is beginning. If you have something to comment on that isn't on the agenda, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to discuss the item.
I thought they would under letter B.
Well, then it's a public hearing. D's public hearings, so that wouldn't apply.
I don't know that it's been a problem in the past, so if this goes to a no vote, it's not going to hurt my feelings whatsoever.
All those in favor of striking, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. Striking 6.5C.
Vice Chair Dick?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez-Torres?
Yes.
Commissioner Blue?
Yes.
Chairman Corral?
No. Any other amendments? Commissioner Mayfield?
I have to go.
Okay.
But I did have just a question about item 4-4. Feels like it should go under the duties of the chair, that the chair can appoint a temporary chairperson. So that's my comment, but I do have to go. So my question is, do we table this discussion at a certain point, or you all have quorum still and continue without?
So that would apply if both the chair and the vice chair are not in attendance.
Correct, but I don't think that, right now it's under work sessions, I think, and I think it would go under chair. It's just like organization of the paragraphs.
I understand.
I'm not saying strike it.
I think we'll, if there's any formatting.
Yeah, formatting.
So, given that you're about to leave,
Yes.
I'm assuming there's no other amendments.
Have we completely discussed the work session issues?
I think all the amendments have been entertained at this time. So, is there a motion to approve the bylaws as presented with those amendments?
Second.
The motion, second, to approve the bylaws with the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The bylaws are approved.
Point of order?
Point of order.
I think we should have a roll call vote.
In the opinion of the chair, we did do the vote. It's not a public hearing.
Okay. We did roll call for other items.
What's that?
We did roll call for other items.
Well, I think Yeah, we did roll call on some items.
Mm-hmm.
We only did we did special public hearings, we did it. Thank you. Okay, the bylaws are approved with the 2 policies. Any other items?
Point of order,
Yes.
who's going to finalize the bylaws and
I will work with staff. We'll come up with time and we'll just make the format perfect. Keep all the words intact and then make the format.
But then will we need to approve it again at a meeting?
No, it's been approved. Bylaw's been approved. However, at subsequent meetings, we can bring it back up. And how there's a avenue to bring it back up.
We'll distribute.
Point of order?
Yes.
You mentioned 2 policies, but I thought that we discussed adding a third, which was definitions and something specific that I can't remember now what it was.
Yes, we can certainly discuss that, but it seems like that's a more detailed conversation, defining what X means, and then we could put that in a new policy. That would be WINC PC Policy 26-03.
Okay.
And we would define
And what do we do since we already voted to approve the bylaws, but I think that many of the commissioners would like to see a final printed copy
It
before
will
we
be,
approve them.
as soon as we meet and make it look pretty, it goes out.
And we can review it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think we should vote on it once it's the completed version
Yes.
presented, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we add that to the agenda for the next time we meet?
Well, I think we can bring up a new item for the bylaws. The bylaws are approved. So if a commissioner wishes to move forward and modify the bylaws, especially in accordance with the new policy that allows it, that's fine. We could do that collaboratively and add things too. So anything you want to add, subtract, or policy-wise create, this now provides an opportunity to do that, to define the terms, to whatever as necessary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Monthly reports.
Excuse me.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Monthly reports. Active Site Plan Summary 2-26. Active Site Plan Summary. Any additional comments?
Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none.
I do have, before we adjourn, I have a couple of questions though. So, are we having a work session next month, Mr. Chair?
I think we will see what's on the agenda and see what's necessary and see if it meets the definition and then 100%.
Sounds like it's to be determined.
And by when do we find that out?
How soon can we meet?
We're here and available, so certainly Thursday or Friday would probably be good and available for the 2 of us, so how would your schedule work out?
Okay. Well, I can meet this week, whatever. Let's do that offline. Thank you.
And it'd be great if we could get the remote meetings going. I know that you guys have some groundwork to lay for that, but if you could have a rough schedule at an appropriate time, that would be appreciated.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.